By the end of this video, you will know exactly what each part of a chord name means and why it's there and how each and every chord is constructed, even if you currently know zero music theory. That being said, this isn't going to be a fun video, and it's not even really going to be an educational video. It's just something that's been on my to-do list forever, and I just feel like I need to get it over with. People of the world, friends and relatives, my name is Stuart Alexander Lehman-brown, and the first part of any chord and its name is the root note. So let's just take the root note C. You have a C, some sort of a C chord. If it has a C at the beginning of the name, it's a C chord. If it had an F at the beginning of the name, it's an F chord. That letter at the beginning is just telling you what's the root note, the fundamental lowest main note of the chord. Let's take C for an example, and we'll be right back after this short break. Every single chord starts off with a letter, and that's the root note. Here's what you need to do. You need to find the major scale that goes with that root note. For the purposes of the first part of this video, let's use C as the root note. So we have some sort of a C chord, so we need the C major scale. There it is. Those are the notes in the C major scale. A scale is just a group of notes that fit together. The major scale is just a specific group of notes, and this is what it is. This is the C major scale. There's also an F major scale, a G major scale. Right now, we're just looking at the C major scale because we're looking at some sort of a C chord. The most basic type of chord is a major triad, when it just has the letter and that's it. So in this case, just the letter C. We're going to take the first note of the scale, the root note. We're going to take the third note of the scale, and we're going to take the fifth note of the scale. Those three notes, the root note, the third, and the fifth, are automatically included in every single chord unless the chord name specifically tells you not to include them. So that means for a C chord, the notes are C, E, and G. That's called a major triad. And if the only thing in the chord's name is just a letter, then that's what it is. It's a major triad. That is the default chord, is a major triad. So if in this case, we're looking at a C major triad. So we have the C note, the first note of the C major scale, the E note, the third note of the C major scale, and the G note, the fifth note of the C major scale. Now, if we were playing a B flat chord, then it would be a B flat major triad. We would need to know what the B flat major scale is, and we would take the first note of the B flat major scale, which is a B flat, the third note of the B flat major scale, which is a D, and the fifth note of the B flat major scale, which is an F. So that's for every single chord where it's just a letter, and then, okay, wait, also, you can put a flat or a sharp. Oh, shoot, darn it. This is going to get so much more confusing, and I'm just not emotionally prepared to do this. Let's just stick with C for now. So you've got a C triad is C, E, G, the first, third, and fifth note of the scale. Do you need me to say that a few more times? Okay. That's the basic major triad. If you put an M after the letter, or M-I-N, or minus after the letter, so it's like C minus, C-M-I-N, C lowercase m, that means it's a C minor triad, and that is your instruction to lower the third note by a half step. So in this case, instead of it going C, E, G, it's going to be C, E flat, G. Whenever there is minor written in a chord name, it always refers to the third note of the scale. Minor in a chord name means lower the third by 1/2 step. That is literally always what it means. It doesn't matter if it says minor 6, minor 7, minor 11. The minor always refers to the third. So if there is a lowercase m or a minus or min anywhere in the chord name, it means that the third note of the scale is lowered by a 1/2 step. There are two other types of triads, the augmented triad and the diminished triad. They are not nearly as common as the major or minor triad. Augmented means you have the first note of the scale, the third note of the scale, and then the fifth note of the scale is raised. It's sharp. So a C augmented would be C, E, G sharp. The way you write an augmented chord's name is you either write C, A, U, G, which is short for augmented, or C plus. For some reason, we've decided that plus means augmented. So if you see a plus in a chord name, it means put the fifth note of the scale in there, but raise it up by a 1/2 step. Diminished is much more complicated, but for a diminished triad, it means you have the root note, you have the flat 3, so you have the third note of the scale, but lowered by a 1/2 step, and then you have the fifth note of the scale, lowered a 1/2 step. So a C diminished is going to be a C, E flat, which is the lowered third, and G flat, which is the lowered fifth. Augmented and diminished chords are pretty rare, so I wouldn't worry about them too much. The triads that you want to really be familiar with are major and minor. Major is 1, 3, 5. Minor is 1, flat 3, and 5. Moving on to seventh chords, people of the world, friends and relatives. If you want to go one step more complex beyond triads, you find yourself in the realm of seventh chords. I told you this video wasn't going to be fun. There's so much information to cover, and I don't know how to do this. Normally you would spend several classes at college talking about this, and it would be over the course of several weeks, and I don't know why I'm trying to do this. I feel like if I have a video of this called Why Chords Are Named What They're Named, or how you find out the name of a chord, it would be useful, but this is just such a bummer. I'm just so bored. The way you construct a seventh chord is you have a triad, which is that chord we were just talking about with the first note, the third note, and the fifth note, but you add on another note. You just add on, you guessed it, the seventh note of the scale. Here's what's screwball crazy about seventh chords. Are you ready? What do you think the notes are in a C7 chord? C7. Okay, well, let's see. We take the triad, so that's C, E, and G, the first, third, and fifth note of the scale, and we add in the seventh note of the scale. So we add a B in there. So a C7 is C, E, G, and B. Nope, you're wrong. You're wrong. How dare, what were you thinking? Of course, it's C, E, G, and B flat. For a C7 chord, you have to you add the seventh note of the scale, but you lower it by a 1/2 step. Now, the truth is, there is a very reasonable reason for why a C7 chord has a flat 7 in it, but we're not going to talk about it. It just comes down to the history of music and how seventh chords were first used and what was considered dissonance and what was considered consonance, and it does make sense. But what I would rather, instead of explaining it, what I would like to do is spend as long or longer talking about how I'm not going to explain it than it would take to actually explain it. If a chord just says 7, then you add on a flat 7. You go to the seventh note of the scale, you lower it by a 1/2 step, and you throw that onto the chord. So a C7 chord is C, E, G, and B flat. A C major 7 is where you don't flat the seventh. So it's C, E, G, and B natural, not a B flat, just a regular B. So you ready for this? A C major 7 chord. The major in C major 7 is not referring to it being a major chord. It's referring to the 7th note being major. So a 7th chord automatically has a flat 7 unless you specify that the 7th note is major, not flat. Guys, what do you think the notes are in a C minor 7 chord? C minor 7. Here's what it is. You take a C minor triad, which is C, E flat. You have the lowered third because there's minor in the name of the chord. You add the 5th in there, G, so that's a C minor triad, C, E flat, G. And then you add the 7th note of the scale, but because it's just C minor 7, there's no major before the 7, it's going to be a flat 7. So that means a C minor 7 chord is C, E flat, G, B flat. Now get a load of this. You can have a C minor major 7 chord. C minor major 7. What do you think that is? Well, let's break it down. The root note is C. It says minor, C minor major 7. There's a minor in there. So minor always means flat 3. So we're going to have an E flat in there. Then we throw in the 5th, the G. And then it says major 7, so we're going to put a not flatted 7, so a B natural. So that means a C minor major 7 chord is C, E flat, G, B natural. We have a minor third and a major 7. This is what I'm about to say is very important, and people mix it up all the time. Whenever you have minor in a chord name, that's saying there's a minor third. Whenever you have major in a chord name, that means there's a major 7. You're still not getting it. Anytime that I say major in a chord name, that is referring to the 7th note of the scale. It is not saying that it's a major chord with a major third. Okay? It's not entirely intuitive, but a third is always major unless you specify it's minor. A 7 is always flat unless you specify that it's major, which means not flat. It's like, I don't know if it's still like this, but I went to school in New York for a semester. And I think on the East Coast in general, if you order a regular coffee, they put cream and sugar in it. And here in California, if you order a regular coffee, well, actually, I don't know what that. People don't order regular coffees. You order just like coffee, and they say, "Do you want room for cream or whatever?" But my point, what I'm trying to say is, I feel like a regular coffee should be black coffee, and then you specify if you want to add sugar or cream. But on the East Coast, at least during the 2000s, a regular coffee meant we are going to automatically put cream and sugar in it. And it's up to you to specify if you don't want cream and sugar. That's what the flat 7 feels like to me. It's like, why are you assuming a flat 7 and I have to specify if I don't want a flat 7? But it's just the way it goes. So great job. Great. So now you have a complete and total understanding of 7th chords. I'm very proud of you. Let's talk about tensions. Some people call them extensions. I just call them tensions. Tensions are when you add extra notes on top of the regular notes you have. So, oh my God, this is really a pain. Okay. Adding tensions to a chord, really typically what it means is you're going to add the 9th note of the scale, the 11th note of the scale, or the 13th note of the scale. Uncle Stuart, I'm looking at the scale right now. There's only 7 notes in this scale. And well, kind of 8 if you count the octave, but there's only 7 or 8 notes in this scale, so I don't know what you're talking about. Well, guess what? You can just, repeat the scale up an octave. Look at this. There, we have the regular scale, and then it just keeps going up. It's like the infinite staircase at the end of Mario 64, where you can just keep going up forever and ever, and it keeps getting higher and higher and higher, yet nothing ever really changes. You just go C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. It just keeps going to higher versions of each note. And so if we have this, here's a 2-octave scale, you can just label the notes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and then that's where the 9, 11, and 13 notes come from. So get a load of this. Let's say we have a C9 chord. Here's what that means. It means you take a C7 chord and you just throw a 9 on top of it. So we would have the C, the E, the G, the B flat, and then we add in the D, which is the 9. So a C9 is you take a C7, and then you add in the 9. What would a C11 be? It would mean you take a C7 chord, and then you add in the 11, which in this case would be an F, which would be kind of an ugly chord. What if you have a C13 chord? No problem. We just take a C7 chord, C, E, G, B flat, and we throw on the 13th note of the scale, which happens to be an A. Now, people of the world, friends and relatives, what about this? What about a C minor 9 chord? C minor 9. Okay, well, is that a C chord with a minor 9th added to it? Is it like a C with a flat 9? No. It's not. I've already told you so many times, I made such a big deal of it, that whenever minor is in the chord name, the minor refers to the 3rd note of the scale. So a C minor 9 is you have a C minor 7th chord, C, E flat, G, B flat, and then you add in the 9th note, which is D. The 9 is not minor. It sounds like the 9 should be minor because it's like C minor 9, but it's not C minor 9. It's C minor 9. What about this one? You ready? What is a C major 11 chord? C major 11 chord. We take a C major 7 chord, C, E, G, B, not B flat, and then we add in the whatever the other thing I said was. Great. This is really fun. I'm really glad we're doing this. Are you ready for this? Tensions can be sharp or flat. So that means you can have a C7 sharp 11. Here's something kind of screwy. You ready? If the tension is not sharp or flat, you can just say the tension. So you just say C11. Great, you're done. If the tension is sharp or flat, then you have to say C7 sharp 11. I know why. Do you know why? The reason why is this. Because if you just said C sharp 11, it would seem like it was a C sharp 11. But we don't want it to be a C sharp 11. We want it to be a C sharp 11. And so then you have to put something in between the C and the sharp. So it's C7 sharp 11. This is, I have it so mapped out. I wrote down so many notes. Let's talk about like weird stuff, weird chord, weird little things in the chord title name that don't have anything to do with tensions or anything like that. The first one is sus chords. Who knows what a sus chord is? By a show of hands, do you know what sus chords are? Well, there's 2 different types of sus chord. There's a regular sus chord, which is you take your basic triad, but you replace the 3rd note of the scale with the 4th note of the scale. So a C sus chord is going to be C. You don't have the E, which is the 3rd note of the scale. You go straight to the 4th note of the scale, which is F. You replace the E with an F, and then you put the 5th note of the scale, a G, on there. So it's C, F, G. That is a C sus chord. But wait, there's a whole other kind of sus chord, which is a sus2 chord. Sus2 is where you replace the third note of the scale with the second note of the scale. So, riddle me this, Batman. What are the notes in a C sus2 chord? C, D, and G. C, D, the second note, then you don't have the third note in there, and then you put in the fifth note, the G. So that's a sus chord. You ready for this, though? We're going to tack on some extra stuff to the sus chord world. What about a C7 sus? What is that? What is a C7 sus? It's just a C7 chord, C, E, G, B flat, but you replace the third note, the E, with an F. So that means a C7 sus is C, F, G, B flat. Can you have a C7 sus2? I don't see why not. That would be a C, D, G, B flat. It's just a C7 chord, but you replace the 3 with the 2. Could you have a C13 sus chord? Yeah, I think you can. That would just be C, F, G, B flat, and A. It's like a C13 chord, but you get rid of the third and you replace it with the fourth. This is going so well. Diminished seventh chords are the most confusing thing. It's like a whole other world of harmony. I don't want to diminish. Okay, diminished chords are just the root. When you talked about the diminished triad, which is the root, a flat 3, and a flat 5. But then this is where it gets really stupid. A diminished seventh chord is the root, a flat 3, a flat 5, and a double flat 7. You flat the seventh note of the scale twice. Let's just move on from that. What about augmented seventh chords? We talked about augmented triads. Who remembers what an augmented triad is? That's right. It's when the 5 is sharp. It's like a triad with a sharp 5. So an augmented seventh chord is you just take whatever seventh chord you're playing and you raise the fifth by a half step. So a C augmented 7, it does not have an augmented 7. It's a C augmented 7 chord. So it's C, E, G sharp, B flat. Can you have a C augmented major 7? Sure you can. C, E, G sharp, and B natural. It's got the major 7 in there. What do you know about, okay, there's one more weird one. Have you ever seen an alt chord? It'll be like a C-A-L-T. Alt, that's short for altered. Here's what altered, there's like an altered scale and there's some like stuff behind it. But in general, when you see alt, it means that it's got like a flat 9, a sharp 9, a sharp 11, a flat 13. It's got like all of the weird notes in it. Great, that wasn't helpful. Don't worry about it. Just when you see an altered chord, just pretend it's a 7 sharp 9 chord, which we didn't talk about. This is great. I'm having so much fun. What do you know about slash chords, where there's like a chord and then a slash and then another letter? What does that mean? I'll tell you what it means. It's an inversion. An inversion, or it's like or they call it like they call them slash chords as well. It's where the first thing you see is the actual chord. So if you have like C7 sharp 11, that's the actual chord. And then it says slash, and then it says E, right? So the first thing, the thing before the slash, is the actual chord. Then the note after the slash is not another chord. That is just a single note, and that is the bass note. That's what the bass player is going to play. That's what the left hand of the piano is going to play. That's what like the lowest note on the guitar is going to be. It's the first thing is the actual chord, but just make sure that the second thing, the thing after the slash, is whatever you have as the lowest note of the chord when you play it. It's called an inversion. Guys, you're doing great. Here's a couple more weird things. Add chords. Have you ever seen a C add 9 chord? If the chord says add in it, it means you take the triad and then you just add whatever note it says to add. So a C add 9 chord is you take a C triad, C, E, G, and then you just add in the 9th note of the scale, which happens to be a D. What's the difference between a C9 and a C add 9? A C9, you take the 7th chord, C, E, G, B flat, and then add in the 9th note of the scale. This is unbearable. This was supposed to be an easy way for people to understand this stuff, but it's just too much stuff and too short of an amount of time. What's a C add 11 chord? Well, I'll tell you this. It's going to sound bad, but it's the C triad, C, E, and G, and then you add in the 11th note of the scale, which happens to be an F. It's going to be an ugly chord. Don't do it. There's also a C6 chord. C6 is like its own beast. You take the triad, and then you put a 6 on there. So a C6 is really like a C add 6. We should call a C6 a C add 6, but we just don't do it. Then there's also a C6-9 chord. That's a C add 6, add 9 chord. It's C, E, G. Then you add in the 6, which is A, and you add in the 9, which is D. So for some reason, C6 and C6-9 are we don't have to notate them the same way we notate anything else. Okay, question for you. You ready for this? What are the notes in a C minor 6 chord? C minor 6. This is a chord that comes up sometimes, and people mess it up all the time. Well, let's see. C minor 6. We take a C minor triad, C, E flat, and G, and then we throw in the 6th note, which is an A. That's what it is. A lot of people are going to tell you that it's a minor 6. You add in a flat 6, so it's actually C, E flat, G, and A flat. But that is just flat out, unequivocally, irreparably wrong. It's incorrect. It's negative. A minor 6 chord has a natural 6, and don't you forget it. We're pretty much done with this stupid, horrible. This is my least favorite video I've ever made. So, a chord name has these parts. It starts off with a letter. That is the root note of the chord. You want to know what major scale fits with that root note, and that's going to be able to tell you what all the other notes of the scale are. Then there's the chord quality. Quality just means, is it major, is it minor, or is on the off chance, is it augmented or diminished? So chord quality is just major or minor. I should have mentioned that earlier. Then there might be a number. If there's a number after that, then it's going to be a 7th chord, and then it might have extensions. Oh my God. And then it might say some of them are sharp, and then it might have a slash, which means it's an inversion and there's a different bass note. Great. Perfect. Guys, you're really understanding it. You're getting it. Let's do one quick example. We have a C. Look, I'm going to put it on the screen. We have a C major 7, sharp 11 slash G. C major 7, sharp 11 slash G. The root note is C. The chord quality is major, but it's not because it says major. It's just because it doesn't say minor. So as long as it doesn't say minor, Comcast is calling me. Comcast, I'm very busy right now. Also, Comcast has been calling me for the past 2 years, and I just don't ever return their calls. What were we talking? Oh, so it says C major 7, but the major does not refer to the chord quality. We know it's major just because it doesn't say minor. So we have a C major. Then we have a major 7, which is great. And then we have a sharp 11. Okay, whatever. I'm really sorry about this.